Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another online Chinese history class with me, Tony. In the last class, we talked about the main three of the many philosophies that saw a rise in popularity in the warring states: Confucianism, legalism, and Taoism. Emperors and generals usually practiced legalism more. Taoism was practiced by many normal people and civilians who hated and suffered from war, and Confucianism was somewhere between and practiced by both. Now we're heading back to the state of the kingdoms usually and of the warring states. Each kingdom wanted to grow more and more powerful, and they have wanted that since the period started, since they became kings, of course. But how exactly could the kings achieve this goal? How exactly could they become stronger? Now, they've tried conquering smaller kingdoms, obtaining more land, forming treaties, building and recruiting a larger army, enforcing the laws they've made, and changing them for the better, putting more captured enemy soldiers into slaves, and way more. But the question is, were they doing this in the most efficient way? They've already know how to become better, but were they doing it efficiently? Well, they were gaining power, but it was very slow. It was too slow of a progression. Eventually, it almost their progression, their growth of power almost basically stopped. And the kings didn't like that. Well, they didn't. They won't last. They won't live forever, and they want to see their power rise, especially rapidly. They want to be. They want to see their country become full of might before they pass. They want to be extremely full of might and power. So how could they do it more efficiently then? Well, the answer is actually very simple. They just had to make better decisions. Well, how? Well, they just needed a better counselor, otherwise known as a court advisor. The kings needed advice on how to do some of these things better, and they knew they weren't the best at commanding and giving out tasks, so they needed help, even though they sometimes won't admit that they're not the best, but they knew that. So the kingdom of Wei knew that they needed better help. So then they tried to find a good court advisor. They found a man and welcomed him. His name was Li Kui. He was a hydraulics engineer and a philosopher, but we're gonna focus on his politics. Li Kui first worked on a system that he long thought was wrong: the royal families. The royal families had power, lots of it. The descendants and children of the royal families will hold on to that power even if they don't contribute a tad bit to the kingdom and don't do anything at all. They'll still have that power. And that just wasn't good. The system also prevented normal citizens, even if they worked extremely hard, to not gain any power at all. This made some civilians not motivated to work as much as they should and could, in Li Kui's opinion. So he began to change his system. He first removed the ownership of large acres of plains and land that instead could be used for farming. These acres and plains were owned by the royal families. They had it for like their backyard or their front lawn that they used for like sports here and there, or just playgrounds and things like that. Well, it wasn't put out to max efficiency. So Li Kui took that away from the royal families, and he put ordinary farmers to work in those fields to grow crops and improve the agriculture. This, of course, greatly infuriated the royal families, but it's all worth it in the king's eyes because they prospered. The agriculture prospered. They had way more food. Li Kui was also a legalist, so he followed legalism. He believed in it. He had the ideology of it. So he wrote a law book that was extremely controversial, not just to royal families, but more so to everyone, to citizens and everything. To say this book's contents were harsh is an understatement. This book specifically detailed the punishments that were supposed to be given to people who committed specific crimes, such as thievery and murder. If anyone opposed this book and opposed the reform of these laws, then their entire family would be slaughtered, even though the family were innocent and didn't do anything. Yeah, I know, it's very harsh indeed. However, it was effective, and the Wei Kingdom did grow more powerful. It saw much less crime and way more growth, which is what the king wanted. So after some time, the kingdom of Wei brought in another court advisor, Wu Qi. Now, Wu Qi was known for being a great military strategist and leader. He is extremely dedicated to his work. So the king of Wei respected him. There was this one time that he was fighting against a kingdom. And then his wife was actually a citizen of that kingdom, and he killed his own wife to prove his loyalty and his dedication. So, the king of Wei respected that aspect of him, that dedication that he had. And Wu Qi led the army, and he treated himself actually as a soldier. Now, this is not something that you see a normal general do back in those times. Now, let me explain what that means. Basically, he didn't wear any fancy clothes, didn't treat himself to banquets and meals cooked by professional chefs that would normally cost a lot of money. Now, he was, in his opinion, he was just a soldier as well. Being an advisor and a general doesn't overwrite this thought and this ideology. This made his soldiers actually want to fight to the death for him, because their respect for him was immense. He was treated with lots of respect from the king as well, because he won like 99% of the battles he fought as the general. However, after the king that favorited him died and a new king was brought forth, the other ministers did something sinister. They did not like Wu Qi from the beginning. He was too well respected. You could say that they were jealous of him for all the power. So they took this chance to kick him away, kick him out of the Wei Kingdom. Yeah, go away. But they didn't like him. So, without him, though, the Kingdom of Wei did not gain any power at all. It was so close. It was the fingertip away from being the strongest kingdom in the Warring States, but the ministers of Wei just threw it. They valued their own personal matters more. So, Wu Qi escaped to the kingdom of Chu to advise them, but almost immediately the royal family still despised him and murdered Wu Qi in cold blood, like almost immediately. The kingdom of Wei still wanted to grow, so it was naturally looking for a court advisor that was better than any other they had, and any other kingdom would have had. So a person by the name of Gong Sun Yang was suggested. He was said to be so good at what he does, which is being a court advisor, that if you didn't make him your advisor, then you had to kill him to prevent him from falling into enemy hands and being extremely useful for them, possibly making them the strongest kingdom out of the Warring States. Now, so what did the kingdom of Wei do with Gong Sun Yang? A. They recruited him and became one of the most powerful kingdoms out of the 7 Warring States. Or B. They recruited him, but a lot of people didn't like him and he was forcefully kicked out. Or C. They recruited him, but he was assassinated by an enemy kingdom because they feared his power. D. They recruited him, but he was assassinated by a group of corrupt ministers whose power was taken away. They were exposed. Or E. They killed him to prevent him from being useful to enemy kingdoms. No, they didn't. Since Wei didn't have them, nobody could have them. Or F. They didn't do anything about him. They just didn't do anything at all. Just let him do whatever he wants. I'll give you a few seconds to think and answer. Okay, so the correct answer was F, actually. The Kingdom of Wei did not do anything about him. So they let him get away and fall into enemy hands. Yeah, that was kind of dumb. In this case, he fell into the enemy hands of the kingdom Qin. And this is the perfect place for a cliffhanger. And that's going to be the class for today. See you next time.